3, 2, 1, go. Welcome to the latest edition of I Hate Critics Movie Review Podcast. I am professional film critic Sean Patrick. With me is Jeff.
What's up?
Jeff, where do they find your stuff?
JeffLassiter.com is my website. Etsy, my Etsy is Art Guy NYC, even though I don't live there anymore.
Prints, stickers, full on what, paintings?
I've got paintings. You buy my paintings, especially because I have to pay for my Madonna trip. Also stickers, prints. I've got some Kid Robot figures that I've customized over the years. You name it.
Nice. All right. And you can find out more again on Jeff's website to take advantage of those incredible deals. I'm at geeks.media, horror.media, shotthemovies.blogspot.com for a whole bunch of stuff. We're talking about the Oscars this week again, as we were covering some of the Oscar movies that I know you hadn't seen, that I saw kind of at the end of last year, and we're going to get to a couple of those, but first I do want to cover a couple of movies that I watched, Jeff, and I'm not sure if you even heard about. Have you heard about a movie called Miller's Girl?
No, I have not.
So Miller's Girl is directed by Jade Bartlett, and it stars Jenna Ortega and Martin Freeman in the story of a professor and a student at a high school. Martin Freeman obviously is the teacher. Jenna Ortega is this very prominent student who he becomes sort of obsessed with. She demonstrates a terrific writing talent, specifically when she's able to ape the work of Henry Miller. Now, if you're familiar with the reputation of Henry Miller, then you know why this is deeply, deeply problematic for a teenage girl to be writing about. Henry Miller was super, super horny all the time. And when she's assigned to write in the style of her favorite author, she decides to write a story about a teacher and a student having an affair in the style of Henry Miller. Which, of course, is going to get this man fired from his job. That's just what's going to happen. Jenna Ortega is a really great actress. She's very convincing. I didn't flinch for a moment thinking about her as being like a hyper-intelligent, hyper-literate person. She really sells it. Martin Freeman is a bag of Wonder Bread. He's just kind of there. He's just sort of, he's a not unhandsome man who is very easily manipulated by the wiles of a teenage girl and the words of Henry Miller. So the movie ends up being somewhere in the middle of good and bad. It's certainly not a bad film, and certainly Jenna Ortega is not bad in it. But I just didn't care. I didn't buy into the temptation that he's feeling. I didn't buy into a lot of this is about like her wanting to punish him for not taking advantage of his writing gift because he wrote one, I guess, pretty good book from what we're told, and then stopped writing. And so she's kind of punishing him for not writing any further by holding him hostage over his job, I guess. I don't know, it doesn't really hit. It doesn't really land. And really not much about this movie lands in the end.
Now that you describe it, I have seen the trailer for it. I just don't know if I saw it in a theater or if I saw it somewhere.
It wasn't in theaters because it's already out. It was in limited release over the weekend, and I believe it may already be available to rent.
Gotcha.
Another movie I watched that I know you didn't watch, The Underdoggs, Snoop Dogg's movie. Did you?
No, I didn't.
I gotta say, I'm so ashamed of myself. I kind of recommend this movie. It's bad. I mean, it's objectively a bad movie because it's every cliched kids sports movie ever. He plays he's a guy who's a former NFL player who gets assigned community service following a car accident, so he's got to take over his kid's peewee football team. It's the Mighty Ducks. It's Bad News Bears. It's all that shit just rolled into one. Like, they're not even trying here. The only difference is that this is a hard R-rated kids movie.
Nice.
Hard R. Like, everybody in this movie is just F word this, F word that. One of the kids' nicknames is literally titties.
Oh my God.
And it's not the girl player on the team. It is not the girl player on the team.
Kid, isn't it?
No. It's a kid. Oh. He wants him to be able to catch the football, so he wants him to imagine the football are titties, and then he's got to hold on to them so he doesn't fumble them. Don't fumble the titties.
Wow, that sounds great.
I'm ashamed, but I laughed a lot at this.
Does Martha Stewart show up?
She does not. She does not.
Aw.
Yeah, it's a shame. Objectively, terrible film. Just wildly derivative. But Snoop Dogg has this weird appeal where he's just he's a very charismatic guy. And I kind of don't mind him being in something like this. It sort of plays to his limited strengths as an actor to be so derivative and predictable.
Oh my God.
I know. It's weird, right? But yeah, it's out now. It's on Amazon Prime. It debuted on Amazon Prime on Friday. They didn't bother with theaters or anything like that. It's just directly to Amazon Prime, and that's it.
Well, good for him.
Any remote interest in seeing that?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where he's at this week, so I'm not sure if I'm going to watch a Snoop Dogg movie or not. We'll see. I did get some news today, though. Oh. Have you seen any of the guerrilla marketing for a movie called Longlegs?
I saw the posters. This is with Nicolas Cage and Micah Monroe, right?
Yeah, it's been like a kind of a secret, and then they released the poster and released what it was about. Yeah, it's a horror movie. It's directed by Oz Perkins, Anthony Perkins' son, also from one of your favorite movies, Legally Blonde.
Nice.
And yeah, it stars Micah Monroe and Nick Cage. So really looking forward to that now.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I'm Nicolas Cage in a horror film. The last time we saw that was Mandy, which was one of the greats, one of the modern greats, I say, Mandy. So yeah, him in that perspective, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I saw the poster and I was like, wow, that sounds actually pretty good, and so I want to keep that on everybody's radar. So hopefully it hits theaters. I'd like to see it in a theater.
Yeah, it's questionable these days. I mean, there's a movie, we watched a bunch of Nicolas Cage movies, and we had one of them reach theaters, Dream Scenario reached theaters, but then there was 2 other Nicolas Cage movies that came out last year that just went directly to streaming and just completely under the radar. So who knows what'll happen with this one.
Yeah.
All right, so what did you watch this week, Jeff?
I watched Rustin and Nyad.
Good. Yes. Let's start with Nyad. Okay. Of the 2 movies about gay Americans doing what they do best, I thought Nyad was the better overall film. Mm-hmm. Really? Okay.
I did. Well, just because Rustin to me seemed more of a traditional biopic, whereas Nyad, it seemed more like we're taking a slice of this woman's life, and we are the thing that drives her the most is this one singular relationship. In a way, the relationship is not with her and Jodie Foster or anybody else on the boat. The relationship is her and her determination and the water.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was an interesting way to take it. Whereas Rustin seemed more like a traditional biopic, where it was, here's a bunch of stuff that happened, and then here's the thing that he's got to overcome. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Colman Domingo was amazing in it, and he really was Bayard Rustin. I thought the way it was handled was a little more traditional to me. So that's why I preferred Nyad.
I find Nyad to be, what's the word I'm looking for? I found it to be a little beige overall, just kind of, I'm not particularly interested in gumming up the works in terms of being not controversial, I guess, but it's just it has a sort of a traditional bent in my estimation. And that's kind of, whereas I thought Colman Domingo's performance was so incredible that it didn't matter if that had a conventionality to it to me. But Nyad had had that sort of beige quality where sometimes the movie is just sort of there, especially if there's certain sequences in the movie that just don't really do anything. We're just kind of, okay, just going to get, let's get back in the water. Okay, cool. And that to me kind of held it back. I think Annette Bening and Jodie Foster are great, but I certainly don't think either one is really like Oscar level great.
I if I had to pick between the two, I liked Jodie Foster's performance better.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it was kind of a feeling that to me more so than like she wasn't acting. She was, she was embodying it a little more.
Mm-hmm. She's always been much more of a naturalistic performer than even most other actresses, honestly.
Yeah, the only time I ever remember her like really acting was The Accused, where she did, I think, the most acting of her career.
Oh, because he had the big broad accent and the booziness of it.
Yeah, just the broadness of it, and how I felt like she was really going for something there. Whereas, like in The Silence of the Lambs, her other Oscar win, she was much more subtle and embodied it. She embodied Clarice Starling a little more, and I think that's what she does here, where she's really easygoing and she's the voice of reason. When Diana Nyad is really obsessed, she's the one who's like, okay, we're gonna do it, but I need you to calm the fuck down.
Yeah, let me risk everyone's life to do this thing that doesn't really need to be done.
yeah. So I really liked her performance in that. I think even better than Annette Bening, who was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think Colman Domingo as Bayard Rustin he kind of rises above, because he embodies that character so well, that person so well. And you really get the sense that he's on the outside looking in while also on the inside looking at, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the time. We've already gotten through all of our movies in about 15 minutes, so I guess the show's over, but
well, I mean, there's lots of other other things that we can talk about, like with those movies. With Nyad, I just felt that I liked Annette Bening. I don't know if our conversation last week, who would you take out to put Margot Robbie in? It would probably be Annette Bening. I think she did a great job. I just, the only performance in that movie that really struck me was Jodie Foster.
Yeah, I find Annette Bening's performances in just about anything to be kind of overly mannered and overly performative. You can sense the acting, which I think it makes her popular among the kind of the acting branch voters of the Academy who like to see you show the work. I think, admittedly, I think Colman Domingo has that appeal as well. But I think I think that character deserves that kind of highly performative thing, because that's kind of who Bayard Rustin was. He was a performer. He was a guy who every emotion was a big swing for him, and so I think Colman Domingo's makes sense in that sense. Whereas Annette Bening, in just about any movie, it just comes off as you can see her almost doing calculus in her head, like what's the next line, how am I reacting to the next thing? You can kind of see it happening.
When she hits, she really, really hits. Mm-hmm. Like The Kids Are All Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was her best performance that I've ever seen her in.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always that little undercurrent of seeing her make the choice in her head at the time.
Yeah.
So, whereas Jodie Foster is like, it's like she knew the character when she read the script, and she didn't have to make the choices because she already was the character.
She embodies her characters in just about any role that she plays. There's just the naturalism of her performances, the relaxation, the way she relaxes into a character is fascinating to watch, because she's capable of getting to somebody's soul in that way without having to, aside from maybe Nell, we should throw in Nell there's a performance that's way over the fucking top that she shouldn't have done, but this though is right up her alley. Just the kind of natural character that fits what she does.
Yeah. She brings a real person to a real person. Whereas Annette Bening brings Annette Bening to a real person.
Which works, saying something like, I think she's not, and this is not hindsight at all, I think she was the best thing about American Beauty, because I think she, better than anyone, understood the tone of that film and understood the tone of that character.
Yeah.
I think she got it more than anybody else did. She's playing it big and broad, and the comic moments that she plays in American Beauty are exceptional.
I will sell this house today.
Yeah.
She is, looking back, she is the best part of that movie. I think when that came out, everybody was kind of like, oh, Kevin Spacey's such a good actor. And, he really, and now it's just like, no, he's a smarmy piece of shit. And
it's the same in every performance.
You can, I fully believe you can separate the art and the artist most of the time. But when you hear his public statements about his, quote unquote, alleged rape of Anthony Rapp, etc., he's not playing a character when he's playing Lester. He's not playing a character when he's playing the president. He is that smarmy asshole. Whereas Annette Bening, yes, she's Annette Bening, and yes, she does, make the choices in the moment on her face sometimes. When she's on, she's on.
Yeah. But it takes
Beauty, she was on.
It takes the right role for her, as opposed to, I think Jodie Foster could play anything. I think Annette Bening needs the right role. Like Film Stars Don't Die in Liverpool, which she was nominated for, I believe. She was playing an actress in that movie. So being performative and broad made sense in the guise of playing an actress.
Yeah.
Put her in the right role. Yeah. She's phenomenal. This role is good because I guess Diana Nyad kind of is this big personality. She's driven. She's a motivational speaker. That type of energy does make sense. I just found the film to be lacking in other aspects that I didn't find the story particularly dramatic. There's no real need for Diana Nyad to do any of this. I know she's trying to prove something to herself, but she's, also risking the lives of other people to do this thing that doesn't need to be done. It reminds me of people who climb Mount Everest. Great. Didn't need to do that.
Yeah. Well, and you get glimpses into her character by, her past, just in like snippets of flashbacks rather than, starting her as a child and then seeing her become who she becomes. What I appreciated about that is it's all laid out in the first, couple minutes that she and Jodie Foster used to be in a relationship. Now they're just best friends. Yes, she has to do this for herself, but she needs Jodie Foster because Jodie can push her. It's all laid out really quickly, and then it's down to the swimming. And with Rustin, I thought, it was a little. I feel like it would be hard for people who weren't somewhat already invested in his story to be invested in it, as the way the movie's written. It's a little more straightforward biopic to me. I gotta say this too. Chris Rock and his line deliveries, they were terrible.
he was the worst part. He was the worst part of Rustin. He was.
And I like Chris Rock. I like Chris Rock when he's doing comedy or stand up or not Academy Award level dramas like this is, because his line deliveries all sound like he's in Dogma 2.
Well, he's always Chris Rock. He doesn't get into a character. He can't do anything other than that Chris Rock rhythm, and that Chris Rock rhythm is really unwelcome in a movie like this.
Yeah. He
Go ahead.
When you're playing a person who is either living or has lived and can be referenced, and you're doing, why don't you do this instead? It's so jarring and took me out every time he did it. So
yeah. We'll get back to Rustin in a moment. I did want to mention, did you know that Nyad is a controversial film? Apparently, this is from the openwaterswimming.com, which is attributed to it's one of the most popular places on the internet for open water swimming, which is something that everyone loves.
Just missed that article.
Apparently, there's an actual controversy here where they say that Diana Nyad refuses to have her swim across from Cuba to Florida. She refuses to have it verified. She won't go along with WOWSA, which is the group that handles this type of thing in terms of verifying records. She won't verify the record unless they say they actually don't think she actually did it.
What?
She's refused the offers to accept the ratification review of her swim because they apparently believe that she may have done things that caused this to not be an actual verifiable event. That she's told multiple different stories about her swim in terms of how she did it, in terms of the directions, in terms of just the various modifications that she made in order to make it safely across, that this may have cost her an actual record in terms of this being an actual thing that she did. You got to get into the competitive open swimming, Jeff. It's really fascinating.
Yeah. Gosh, after, let me lay aside all my other interests to get into this controversy.
Yeah, the Guinness Book of World Records has confirmed that they no longer recognize Diana Nyad's swim as quote-unquote record-breaking. Of course, that could just mean that she didn't pay them the $10,000 that you have to pay the Guinness Book of World Records to verify any record that they have, because that's a real thing, Jeff. If you want a world record, you just give them $10,000 and tell them that you did it.
Wow.
Allegedly.
I did not know that.
Allegedly. $10,000, you can tell them. There's this great video, and I'm gonna plug a guy by the name of H Bomber Guy on YouTube. He did a video about about a video game sound effect, the oof sound effect, which is popular on Roblox, popular in various different ways. Some guy claimed that he created it, and this guy is a real fucking weirdo who has 6 world records that cannot be verified in any way, and in fact have been debunked on multiple occasions, but he has the Guinness Book of World Records seal to say that he did it, because all he had to do was pay them $10,000.
Wow.
Fun stuff, right? So technically speaking, Diana Nyad just might have told Guinness Book of World Records to fuck off when they asked her for money to verify her world record. So there you go. In fairness, we've covered both sides of it. The Wowza side and her side. So there you go.
Well, I'm on her side.
We get to all the big controversies, Jeff. That's what we do on this show.
Yeah, who knew that the world of competitive open water swimming was so controversial?
Right? I'm telling you.
I know that Toby Ball, who's I met him. He's a friend of a friend. He does the Crime Writers On podcast. His big thing is he loves podcasts about a feud among subcultures.
Yeah.
So I feel like that would be right up his alley.
Yeah, it is one of those like mini controversies in a very small corner of the internet. Certainly, the people the people who care about this very much care about this for whatever reason.
Oh, I mean, it's totally, completely understandable why they would care about it because, you know,
it's controversy. You know, you gotta have real information when it comes to this. All right, so we're talking about Rustin now, and we've been talking a little bit about Rustin throughout, but Rustin specifically, starring Colman Domingo as famed civil rights activist Bayard Rustin. I got to admit a little bit of bias here, Jeff. Colman Domingo, I've interviewed him a couple times. He's an absolute delight, just one of the nicest human beings on the planet. But the main reason I have such an affinity for him is the second time I spoke to him, he remembered who I was, which is unheard of in a celebrity. He actually name-checked a couple things we talked about in a previous conversation, and I'm like, how does this man remember who I am?
Nice.
Amazing. What an incredibly nice person. But the story of Bayard Rustin is really is very dramatic. He is a gay man who was in the civil rights movement and a gay black man at that time in the movement. He's facing a lot of hurdles to the point where just who he is, not only as a gay man, but also as just a very outspoken man. He gets initially pushed out of the civil rights movement. People want him gone. They got to bring him back, though, because he's such an amazing organizer. And when they're going to do the Martin Luther King's speech in Washington, D.C., they need Bayard Rustin there to be the organizer, the person to bring it all together. And that's really the story that we're telling here on two hands. You've got his private life and his public life, and he's really not somebody who wants to settle for having one or the other. He wants them both. Deserves to have them both. And the struggle that he had to try and have both the halves of his life together is the story here. And I thought it was incredibly dramatic.
Yeah, I like I said, I thought that, you know, it was more of a standard biopic than what I thought Nyad was, but I really, you can't discount the way that he portrays him. Now, I have a little bit of bias. Colman Domingo is a friend of a friend.
Oh.
I have not met him, though, but I will make sure to tell him you said hi if I ever do.
He'll probably remember.
I know, right? And I have heard all that he is like a really, really great guy. The difference between him here and in The Color Purple, where he's just so engaging in that as well, is that when you're playing a real person, you get that benefit of seeing footage of that person and, you know, being able to perhaps have a little bit of a historical context about that person. And the way he embodies Rustin is the way Jodie Foster, you know, she just slips on her character in Nyad. He slips this on, and he's not doing what a lot of people do in biopics, which is, you know, the almost kind of pedantic imitation of them.
Mm-hmm.
He's picking up on a couple of his character tics and building it around those. And I think that's what I really appreciated about it.
Mm-hmm.
Was that it wasn't a, you know, I don't know why this just popped into my head, but when Meredith Baxter Birdy played what's her face from who was killed her husband, and you know, she's playing a real life person, but she's like acting the fuck out of it, like overacting. And I don't know why that popped into my head.
Yeah, because no one other than you knows what you're talking about.
Oh no, every gay man in their 40s and 50s knows the Betty Broderick story. Okay. um, that's who she was playing. But I recently watched that, and she's biting of the scenery so hard that she biting off pieces of the actors as well. And he caught that in this movie because, what was he was a little bit larger than life for his time. And you could very well do that. And he is so subtle in his manners and what's going on behind his eyes in any given mission, that you're just like, okay, he could very easily run away with the Best Actor Oscar.
It's such an emotional performance, and he captures both the intellectual side and the deeply emotional side of Bayard Rustin, who is like all of us are capable of big, broad emotions, but for him, with the conflict that he's facing, it seems somehow that he's managed to capture the two elements of this man in the same way that he captured the two sides of his personality, his public life, his private life, the wildly intellectual man and the deeply emotional man, who are at odds often throughout this person. Throughout this movie, it's lovely, and there's a scene with him speaking to a small town minister who's come to town to be part of the civil rights movement and who is clearly not sure of who he is. That scene, there's a scene in a bar between the two of them that is just extraordinary. It's an extraordinary piece of acting, where you can kind of see Rustin trying to figure out, should I move here or not move here? Like, do I do something here? Because he doesn't know what's in this guy's head. Other guy is so seemingly naive, but at the same time, he's also dealing with people trying to, trick him or trying to catch him out of being a gay black man in Washington. So you've got this heavy amount of tension and this emotionality going on, all of this like energy happening in this one scene. It's really remarkable.
That scene, and then so I guess I can speak to this a little bit as somebody who was a closeted gay guy in the 80s in a small town Iowa. There's always that fine line that you're trying to figure out if somebody is gay, is interested, etc., but without giving yourself away first. And the way he does that, that could very well be from personal experience. But the way he does that is 100% accurate and perfect. But that scene, and then the scene where he tells Tom later on that he can't be what he wants him to be, which is, Mr. Rustin or Mrs. Rustin, but he's family. I can't be what you want me to be, but we can be family.
Yeah.
That was, that scene really was great. I mean, it was just like it spoke to who he was. He was the big tent.
Oh, great description.
Yeah, he wanted everybody to succeed, from the garbage picker to the president. So,
and the movie is also unafraid of capturing sort of the uglier opportunistic sides of the civil rights movement. And Jeffrey Wright's character, Adam Clayton Powell, is he's in here for a bit of a beating. He's in here for kind of just for being a guy who is not necessarily just a bully toward Rustin, but a guy who sees himself as the black guy who got through. He's like the pick-me of black politicians. It was like, yes, I got over the wall, but I'm not throwing the rope back over to get anybody else over. I'm trying to keep my spot.
Well, it's like the LGBT or the LGB without the T movement that the Republicans are trying to gin up. It's I got mine, fuck you. And that's that was the sense I got from Powell was, hey, I'm already here. I don't need you to bring me down. So whereas Rustin was, it's a big tent. Everybody has a place inside of it. So.
And again, there's a wonderful duality throughout the storytelling here, which I think a lot of that comes from the script. We've got a great script in this movie from Dustin Lance Black and Julian Breece. Did an amazing job. I don't think George C. Wolfe is necessarily a great director. I think he's a serviceable director. He does well enough. I think the aspects that you talked about of a basic biopic come from his sort of basic direction.
Yeah.
But the script, I think, is infallible, and especially Dustin Lance Black. This is what he does: is this kind of storytelling.
Yeah, I think he directs it like a Lifetime movie.
Yeah,
but the performances and the writing are what kind of level everything up.
Yeah, they're so explosive that even his kind of mediocre direction can't contain it.
Yeah,
if I could be a little mean here.
Well, I mean, it's not mean. It's just, it's just being honest, because maybe that's where if he had directed Nyad too, I would have been, oh, they're both very, the same. Plus, picking Chris Rock just speaks to
yeah,
his lack of skills. Because Roy Wilkins was, he was an important character, and I just don't think that Chris Rock necessarily has the range.
No, he's too Chris Rock. I mean, it's an inescapable aspect of him is that he plays Chris Rock.
And I love that though. But not in something like this. Maybe they should have got Will Smith. I just kidding.
He just comes on screen and smacks Chris in the face, and
yeah, I was like, oh, I'm on team Will now after seeing this movie. And I'm kidding. I'm not. No, what are your final thoughts on Rustin?
I really like Colman Domingo. I would not want Colman Domingo's performance to be taken out of the Oscar conversation. I think he belongs there.
Oh yeah, 100%. He is probably my front runner at this point.
Wow, excellent. That's good to hear.
I think because I mean he's just. I
think it's as good or better than Paul Giamatti, truly, but I do think Giamatti's going to win.
Oh, probably. But I don't. I like it, but he's playing Paul Giamatti. You know what I mean? I think I said that last week too. I think Paul Giamatti is doing a Paul Giamatti character, and I also stand by what I said before. I would have loved to see him in Dream Scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Let's see. What else we got going? Next week, there's two things to talk about, I guess, ahead of next week. Argyle is coming out. Of course, that'll be a big one for next weekend. That'll certainly be top of mind in conversation. I believe it's the only big new wide release of the weekend. But Jeff, there's a movie coming out on Shudder on Friday that I think should be a centerpiece of the show as well. And that is a new documentary called Panico. And it's all about the work of Dario Argento.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to that. I don't know. Have you watched a lot of Dario Argento films?
I've seen a few. I've seen this documentary. I've written about this documentary already. I'm not going to go into it yet because we're going to talk about it on the next show, but it does make me interested. I certainly want to see his first film from 1970. That one's definitely on my list. I can't recall the name of it off the top of my head, but I was thinking that and Opera for next week as classics.
Oh, Opera's a good one, yeah. Are you talking about The Bird with the Crystal Plumage?
Yes. Somebody was comparing that to one of my all-time favorite films, Peeping Tom, which is just an absolutely incredible Michael Powell film. And if you're going to compare something to that, then I definitely want to see it. It was also said to be one of Alfred Hitchcock's favorite movies. Yeah.
The first time I watched The Bird with the Crystal Plumage was in the 80s on VHS. I only watched part of it, honestly. I rewatched it. I got it. I bought a region-free Blu-ray player. So I bought it from the European Aero sale and sat down and watched it. And it's a trip. It's really good.
Fascinating. Yeah, so that'll be next week then. Argyle and Argento, the next episode of the show. You want to do some flick chart?
Yeah, let's.
The Sweet Hereafter or The Hangover Part 3?
The Sweet Hereafter.
Yeah. Hangover Part 3 is definitely the weakest one.
If it was just the first one, I might actually pick that one because I really like that one.
That is funny. Coda or Arrival?
Arrival.
Agreed.
Like
Arrival's
Coda.
one of the best films of this young century. Solo, A Star Wars Story, or The Girl Who Kicked a Hornet's Nest?
Solo, A Star Wars Story. Totally underrated.
I'm going the other way on that, but we'll flip a coin and see what happens. Solo wins. Okay. Solo wins. Can we get another movie where we get the origin story of his leather vest? I mean, we're going to do everything else he wears. Why not, you know? Enough Said or Bride Wars?
Bride Wars. I don't...
Kate Hudson, Anne Hathaway. They want the same
never
wedding date.
Watched it.
Never saw it?
Never saw it.
Enough Said's a better movie.
Okay, we'll pick that.
Whiplash or... Sorry, gave me Whiplash again. That's weird.
Is it J.K. Simmons Whiplash?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Whiplash or Honey, I Blew Up the Kid.
Jeez. Whiplash.
Yeah. The Killer or Play It Again, Sam, the Woody Allen film.
It's Maria Bello and William H. Macy.
Yes.
The Cooler.
Same. Yeah, The Cooler is awesome.
It's hard because
Go ahead.
Normally we share the screen when we do this, so it's
yeah.
Without seeing the poster, I might have to ask.
License to Wed or Wait Until Dark?
Wait Until Dark.
Definitely. License to Wed with Robin Williams and John Krasinski. Terrible fucking movie. It is unwatchable.
Somebody on Twitter said they posted, name four horror movies with a disability, and that was one of them. And it was like, I gotta rewatch that.
I just watched it recently, and it was really, really good. Insidious Chapter 3 or Hacksaw Ridge?
I did not see Hacksaw Ridge. That's Clint Eastwood, right?
Mel Gibson, actually.
Mel Gibson. Insidious.
Yeah, I was going Insidious too, even though I have seen Hacksaw Ridge. I'll take a third Insidious sequel over anything involving Mel Gibson.
I will take Insidious The Red Door over anything. And I did not like The Red Door.
It was not good. Nothing against Patrick Wilson. I'm sure he might become a director one day.
Yeah.
He's not there yet.
You will enjoy this. So this weekend I've been reading a book called High Hopes.
Mm-hmm.
And it is about the original Amityville murders by the DeFeo family by Ronnie DeFeo.
Oh, you mean didn't the devil do that? I thought the devil did that.
Well,
what about Ghost? Didn't Ghost do that?
Yeah, I went down a kind of a rabbit hole with it, and I just kept coming across the Warrens and their bullshit stories. And I was just like, oh God, Sean would hate everything I'm looking at right now.
Anything that treats them like experts is basically just full of shit.
Yeah.
All right, this is tough. I actually will have a hard time picking here, and I because I love both of these movies, and one of them is one that has kind of grown in my mind in recent years. Lady Bird or The Babadook?
Lady Bird or what? You cut out.
The Babadook.
Ooh.
I think for me, The Babadook gets better the more I think about it. Like, that's such a great performance. I'm not going to pick it because I do think Lady Bird is a better movie, but I think the one I was talking about that's gotten better for me, that I look back on and I'm even more fond of, is The Babadook.
So with the Babadook, it was the first horror movie that I watched that really solidified for me that horror movies are not always just about horror.
Mm.
They're usually about something else.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that was kind of new because I just like slasher movies growing up. And I was like, whoa, this is actually really about something else. It's about her grief and getting to talk to other people about it and realizing that, oh yeah, that is that is what it is. I'm going to pick the Babadook. Although
right.
Lady Bird is an absolutely amazing movie, and it's a hard choice.
A Lady Bird wins the coin toss.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Babadook's awesome, though. I love Babadook.
Mm-hmm.
Essie Davis. Why doesn't she get more work? That's a good question. Let's see here. All right, we have Sideways or Machete.
You know what? I'm going to give this one to you because
Sideways wins.
It's Sideways. Objectively a better movie, although Machete is fucking fun.
Is it? It didn't feel fun to me. I didn't find it fun. I found it tedious.
I just thought it was fun. The idea of it is fun.
The idea of it is more fun than it actually the movie is, for sure. Let's see here. The Last Temptation of Christ or City by the Sea?
City by the Sea is
Robert De Niro. 2002.
Yeah, Last Temptation of Christ.
Yeah, nobody remembers City by the Sea.
I'm trying to recall it. I don't remember anything about it. So
like the only
if
one.
I saw it,
I've got a review of City by the Sea on the blog. Because I wrote it in 2002 when the movie came out. That's how old I am. That is how old I am. My birthday's this weekend. 48 years old. So there you go.
I got you. I'm the oldest person on this podcast by a few years. So, but happy early birthday.
Animal House or The Outlaw Josie Wales?
Animal House.
I'm going to go with you because it's just more fun. I mean, Josie Wales, is great film.
It's a serviceable movie.
Yeah. Animal House is more memorable.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Inside Llewyn Davis or The Three Burials of Melquiades Estrada?
I'm going to say Inside Llewyn Davis, except I was hoping there was going to be more Adam Driver inside Llewyn Davis.
Moving on.
You're not even going to groan at me?
Inside Llewyn Davis wins. Romancing the Stone or The Fantastic Beasts Secrets of Dumbass?
Romancing the Stone.
Yeah.
Anything besides those stupid Fantastic Beasts movies. I fucking hate everything about them.
Absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. Eddie Murphy Delirious is not a movie. That's a stand-up special. That's a different thing. So we'll move on. That is a 3-minute cartoon. So I think I've reviewed all the movies, Jeff.
I mean,
Miracle on 34th Street or Every Which Way But Loose, Eastwood and a Monkey?
What was the first one?
Miracle on 34th Street.
The original?
Yes.
You know what? I saw Any Which Way But Loose in the theater 3 times.
3 times?
When I was a little kid.
Wow.
I was like 5 years old and there was a fucking monkey. Of course I was going to go see it.
It's like a monkey and punching and yeah. Ruth Gordon.
So, I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
Kids love
6 of
Ruth
one,
Gordon.
half dozen of the other.
That should have been on the poster. Kids love Ruth Gordon.
Oh yeah, I forgot about her. Yeah.
The South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut, or The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the original?
The original.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
I gotta go South Park. Bigger, Longer, Uncut was incredible back in '99. I think.
Love it. But,
yeah. Some of the stuff that they got away with in that movie is pretty incredible. Look back on now. Even then, it felt risky, and that's pretty impressive. So yeah, that's the one I'm going with.
I was reading on, somebody posted it on Instagram or Threads or something, and Jodie Foster was giving an interview,
mm-hmm.
and she said one of her favorite movies is Team America: World Police.
Oh wow!
They said name a perfect movie, and she said, well, Everything Everywhere All at Once and Team America: World Police perfect votes. So in case you ever get to interview Jodie Foster, that you have something to talk about.
I'll tell her I'm ambivalent to that movie about ambivalence. I still hate Team America, honestly. I find aspects of work like Team America Fuck Yeah is a great song. But like the overall just ambivalence, if you care about something, you suck. If you don't care, you suck. Everybody sucks. Is not a great thesis for any movie, as far as I'm concerned.
But there's puppet sex and barfing.
Okay, bro. Sounds awesome, bro. Would you like Pleasantville or The Crush?
What was that? You cut out the first one?
Pleasantville or The Crush?
I like The Crush because it's trashy.
It is trashy. I'll give you that.
And did you know that originally in that movie, did we talk about this? The writer-director, just used the original girl who he wrote it about.
He used her name.
Until
she sued him and said, hey, you made all that shit up, right? Which he fucking did. You watch the goddamn movie, you can tell this is a fucking bullshit male fantasy. Yeah, sure. Sure, doughy 30-something writer. The teenage girl's throwing herself at you. Yeah, that's what happened.
Right. It's trashy, but it's not
Garbage.
Not better.
But The Crush wins the flip, even though I think Pleasantville's a better movie.
Oh, I was totally picking Pleasantville.
Oh, good. Well, Pleasantville wins then.
Yeah, I just said that it was trashy and I kind of loved it. But yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's not high art.
The documentary This Film Is Not Yet Rated or The Adventures of Ford Fairlane?
Ford Fair. No, I'm kidding. This movie is not yet rated.
Definitely that one. Did you hear about Andrew Dice Clay's sort of viral moment this week?
No. Did I?
So he's on tour, doing comedy on tour. He was in front of doing a bit, and he was doing an early show, and Michael Ian Black was doing the late show, and Michael Ian Black was waiting to go on stage, and they have this green room in the back that's for all the comedians. But Andrew Dice Clay, after his show ends, he's like, I don't want anybody to come in. Don't let anybody come in here. This is my room. This is mine. Nobody gets to come in here. So Michael Ian Black's like, fuck that. This is the comedian's green room, and I've got nowhere else to go. I'm not going to stand in the fucking kitchen. I'm going in the fucking room. So he goes in the room, and Andrew Dice Clay threatens to beat him up.
Yeah.
Like a fucking asshole. And
oh, God.
So Michael Ian Black, to his point, he stood his ground. Didn't actually end up getting beaten up by Andrew Dice Clay, but he didn't leave either. But Dice leaves and takes the opening act from Michael Ian Black's show with him. Super professional. Super fucking professional.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, Dice is funny, but he's got a lot of mental problems. He was
funny.
Like,
when was he funny?
In the 80s for about 15-20 minutes.
I cringe so hard looking back on those days. I probably as a kid probably did laugh at his bullshit, but I look back on it now and it's embarrassing to watch. It's embarrassing to watch grown people laugh at that shit.
I've like listened to him on a few podcasts, and he's funny. He's a funny guy. He tells funny stories and stuff. But yeah, he's got some issues for sure.
Undoubtedly.
And one of those issues is he thinks he's hot shit when he's just full diarrhea.
Final one. Should be really. This is going to be tough, Jeff. I don't know how you're going to make this choice. Ex Machina or Scooby Doo 2002?
Oh my god!
I know it's impossible. How do you pick between those two?
I mean, there's Sarah Michelle Gellar for one thing. So that's one.
Sexy blonde Freddie Prinze Jr. I mean, come on.
Just sexy in general. I'm sorry. Of course, we'll pick Ex Machina.
Yeah, that one wins. All right, Jeff, thank you.
Have a good one.